Hola. Unlock your door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of sight, and of mind. You're moving in a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. We are on the threshold of a dimension as vast as creation and as timeless as infinity. Is it the middle ground between light and shadow, or of science and superstition? No. It is the knowing that comes from experience and direct perception. It lies far beyond the pit of humanity's fears and limited knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Serling. Of course, I tweaked it just a little. Creative license. ¿Que no? Sí, claro que sí. So, let's remove this decoration. Kramer, that's his name. Just like it says, Kramer. Way before Cosmo came on the scene. So, came across a meme, an illustrated meme, pitting the scientific method against the worship of science. The worship of science, also known as scientism, also known as pseudoscience, also known as religion posing as science. So I will post that link to that illustrated meme below, but I'm going to run through it in a verbal way because it impressed me. Whoever did it, hats off to you, brother, sister. So here's the scientific method, sometimes called the 6-step method. Maybe there's 7 steps here, but we won't quibble about it. So first we ask a question. Then we do some background research. Then we construct a hypothesis. Then we set up and we test the hypothesis with an experiment or experiments. And we see if the procedure works in supporting the hypothesis, or hypotheses, plural. Now, if it does not support it, we will then troubleshoot and double check all our steps and the setup of the experiment. If our experiment does support the hypothesis, then that experimental data becomes a foundation for new or future projects. And then the data is further analyzed and conclusions are drawn, or the results from the experiment partially or not at all align with the hypothesis. So let's do that one again, because I confused myself. So after the question, the research, the hypothesis, the experiment, and does the procedure work, or how does it work, or fail, then we analyze the data, draw conclusions. So the conclusions are one of two. The result aligns with the hypothesis, it supports the hypothesis in almost in entirety or almost entirety, or the result aligns only partially in a smaller way or does not align at all with the hypothesis. Then, of course, the results are communicated far and wide for all to see, with no big brother coming in and saying, boom, misinformation. No, no, no. That's for us to determine. We have our God-given organic computer here. We have our avenues of intuition. Our body communicates so much truth to us every day, every moment of every day. Listen to your body. It's telling a story, an epic story. Learn to differentiate the body speaking from the chatter monkey in the mind. Learn that. So now we go to the I have some code here in numbers. Can't remember what it means. Sheesh. Sometimes you got to make notes to your notes. Note to self. Make more notes to self. So here's the science worship method. So we formulate or plagiarize, steal, right? We formulate or steal a hypothesis. I can think of two major thieves who rank up high in the pedestal of invention / science. And it's not Nikola Tesla, I can tell you that. So we have the hypothesis. Then we construct a model based on preconceived ideas. Of course, this is the science worship method. So we're constructing our model on preconceived ideas. There's agenda. Then we find data that fits the model. We cherry pick. Cherry pick. Yeah. We discard data that does not align with the model. Discard, sometimes bury, sometimes annihilate. There's some dark stuff that goes on with the suppression of information that runs counter to an established mainstream. I'm recalling a book. Let me see. I remember the authors, Michael Cremo and Richard Thompson, and they authored a book, something about roughly forbidden archaeology, I think is the title. It's several years old. In fact, it's probably a couple of decades old, at least 2 or 3. And they examine the anomalies that exist within archaeology. Those artifacts found everywhere that cannot be explained satisfactorily by the mainstream narrative. So that's a good book. And Michael Cremo, he's interviewed a lot on various platforms. I've seen him being interviewed here, there, and elsewhere. Dr. Thompson, unfortunately, passed away some time ago. So now the next step of the science worship method. We shout with great enthusiasm, trust the experts. And we also shout down anyone who has a question about our experts that we support. So we'll have no debate. Gosh, that would be anti-science, right? So the final step is the censoring or outright elimination of any differing opposing viewpoints, no matter how credible those opposing viewpoints may be. They can come from medical professionals, scientific professionals, engineering professionals, demolition professionals, but still, gone, banished. You're not going to see there. Don't look. Nothing to see. So this is the tried and true method of science worship. You can see there's a huge difference. So if your life depends on access to science data, you might be up a creek if you come across the science worship presentation, cleverly disguised as the scientific method. Unfortunately, we live in a world where even the best and brightest among us can be deceived, and we've seen evidence of that throughout our lives. Even as little kids, we saw evidence of it, looking up at adults and thinking, what the hey? That does not make sense. And as we go older, the does not make sense part grows bigger and heavier. Certainly I, myself, can be misled on any given topic. It's part of the human experience, making mistakes, making honest mistakes. Still, we do our best to consider the information available to us and then make our decisions. It is difficult to make good decisions in a sound bite environment. That's our world, a sound bite environment. The attention span of gnats is rather prevalent these days. Although I wonder if gnats truly do have a much better attention span than we give them credit for. Maybe I should backtrack on that assumption. So our soundbite environment is a place where censorship in all its forms is a heavy-handed practice of the day. You don't have to be in CCP China to experience what I just said. We all well know and good what we've seen in this country in recent years. Let's not kid ourselves. But where there's a will, there's a way. Seek and you shall find. Knock on the door, it will open. And truth, like the saying goes, is like a lion. It will eventually roam free, and it will roar of its own accord. So, there's another means of insight, and that is internal revelation. There is that which comes from within, from deep within, where our true being exists. Not the surface existence of the shadow world before our physical eyes, but our essence within, soul, spirit. And that which comes from within, internal revelation, divine revelation, dare I say, is corroborated by the various wisdom teachers throughout time, past, present, and even future. It is corroborated by the various living books of wisdom. But this is a grand topic for another day. And I don't even know if I even want to go there. After all, Here's to a long lifespan on my YT channel and FB as well, fake book. I don't consider myself a rebel. I like peace. I don't like to agitate. But sometimes certain hard questions need to be asked and certain conclusions need to be expressed, and let chips fall where they may. Have a good evening, everyone. Happy Mexican Mother's Day. Is it Mexican Mother's Day or is it Hispanic Mother's Day? I'm a little behind the curve sometimes. Bear with me. Thank you much. Yeshua bless you.